Greetings, my name is Kevin Matthews and I am the tax professor. Welcome back to class. Class was never out of session because learning never stops. And I want to talk to you today about how to select a qualified intermediary. Now in a previous video we talked about what do you want to do if you're going to be doing a 1031. And those are some very big important questions that need to be asked. There's again, these videos are not to tell you everything, because if I were going to do everything, they're going to be a 3-4 hour video. I mean, I remember when I taught like-kind exchanges in the tax class that I teach at one of the local universities here. That was easily an hour and a half, 2-hour class. I don't want to bore you guys with a lot of that stuff. But one of the things that is very crucial, it's just like executing any majorly scaled plan. You want to make sure that you're choosing the right people working on your team. Okay, so what's going to end up happening is you need to choose a good realtor, somebody who's dealt with 1031s in the past. You also want to choose a good qualified intermediary who's going to be handling your money and doing all of your reporting. You don't want somebody who's sloppy with this. If they get sloppy, sometimes you end up paying the bill on it as a result of it. All right, so we want to make sure that we get that taken care of. You also want to make sure that you have other good people that are working for you, good mortgage company, and some of the other things that some of the other people who have actually had experience with these. I've had some mortgage companies, they hear 1031 and they're like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with any of that. A lot of them who do, I think, are phenomenal mortgage companies. I probably wouldn't work with one even on a regular transaction if they didn't know what a 1031 was. But anyways, so that's just me. So when we're talking about how to select a qualified intermediary, there's just some general things that we need to take into account. One of the initial considerations is to determine if a person is disqualified or a person not qualified as a QI under the regulations. Under those rules, a disqualified person or entity cannot serve as a QI if he or she is the taxpayer's agent, a person or entity related to the taxpayer, a person or entity related to the taxpayer's agent. Okay, so what does this mean for you? In other words, you can't go to your brother and have him to be a qualified intermediary. Not going to happen. IRS doesn't want that. There's too much relation conflict there. Second of all, if you have a real estate agent that you're working for, you should be working with a realtor. And believe me, folks, there's a big difference. Okay, everyone can become a real estate agent. Not everybody can become a realtor. Okay, so make sure you're working with realtors when you can. But you shouldn't be working with the realtor's brother who's a QI. Okay, the realtor's brother who's a QI cannot work with you on this. And so, now here's the thing, most QIs will know this. The problem is that ignorance is bliss, and sometimes the QIs won't tell you about this stuff, hoping to get stuff under the radar. Okay. Second, also a disqualified person includes any person who's acted as a taxpayer's employee, attorney, accountant, investment broker, real estate agent, or broker at any time during the 2-year period ending on the date of transfer of the relinquished properties. In determining whether a person or entity is an agent, activities that are routine, financial, title insurance, escrow, trust services for the taxpayer by a financial institution, a title insurance company, or an escrow company are disregarded. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff saying, but basically, if you got people working in these areas, they can't help you. But there are certain areas that are going to be allowed. So, for example, they're saying that the stuff that's routine, title insurance, escrow, and trust services. So, if you've had an escrow agent in the past and you want to hire them as a QI for a future transaction, you can go ahead and use them. The IRS isn't going to say that you can't work with that person just because you've worked with them in the past. And oftentimes escrow companies are also working with title insurance people, and so if you hire somebody to be your title insurance on one transaction, doesn't mean you can't use them on another transaction. That'd be ludicrous. So they've gone ahead and they've gotten rid of that. Okay, since the QI will be holding exchange funds, it's important to look whether the QI has implemented sufficient policies and procedures to safeguard the exchange of the funds. Now, 99 times out of 100, none of us are going to have any idea about how to qualifiably question somebody about how they've done stuff. But I say, guys, just do the normal homework. Go go out there and research these guys. Check on the Better Business Bureau. If they're rated on the Better Business Bureau, make sure they've got the highest rating they can. And if they don't, find out why. And look, I'm going to be honest. I'm a small business owner. I deal with some people who make seriously dumb claims against me periodically from time to time. And, and I'm kind of like, they're like, well, you didn't do this. And I'm like, well, no, I did. Here it is. And some people get their feelings hurt. So, I'd be careful about, like I said, a lot of people just want to say, oh, well, I'll just see what Google and Yelp says. Google and Yelp sometimes can have some very, very spiteful people who may not be telling you all the facts. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're being very careful about where your sources are coming from. But the BBB is very good. Now, there are people who are going to make claims against people that the BBB investigates and says, you know what, there's no there. And if you see that, that's probably a good thing. That's one thing I do like about the BBB. You can also check out the Chamber of Commerce. Talk to the Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, look, these guys have been members of your chamber for a long time. How are they? Chamber president probably is not going to throw them under the bus too much. But if the chamber knows that, you're dealing with somebody that they kind of feel a little skittish on, they might be willing to recommend you to go somewhere else. At least just say, well, let me give you a couple extra people. Maybe I won't say anything bad about them, but I'll give you a couple extra people. Do your homework, check out these guys too. That's actually a very good resource that you can use from time to time. You also want to make sure that they have sufficient E&O insurance. E&O insurance stands for errors and omissions. You make a mistake on this, it can cost people millions of dollars. And so you want to be able to take action against that individual. And, if they make a simple mistake and as a result of which it busts your 1031, you can go back and you can claim for damages. If they have sufficient E&O insurance, they'll cover that. So you want to make sure they have that. It's a highly technical transaction, so it's also important that any QI have sufficient technical experience and expertise to help out. You want to get involved with somebody who really does these. You don't want somebody who says, oh, well, I've been doing sales transactions for years. I'll do QI work. I've been asked if I wanted to get involved with QI work at some point. I've just been like, no, I don't want to deal with it. It requires a heck of a lot of experience and knowledge that I just am not willing to go spend the money in order to get, especially because with these 1031s going away for everything other than real estate properties, it's becoming fewer and fewer work for everybody involved. Yeah, don't do this. Now, one of the most important things that they say, don't do this based on fee only. There are a lot of people that will go out there, and guys, I'll say that about tax returns too. Anyone will do your tax return for next to nothing. Some people will do your QI for next to nothing. If somebody's charging you next to nothing for it, you need to ask questions. If they're new to the business or if they're relatively new, that might be an understandable exception as to why. Because maybe they've been doing this on working for somebody, but they just set up their own shop. They're trying to build business, so they're going to offer discounts. That's a legitimate reason. But if they've been in business for 20 years and they're doing it next to nothing for everybody else, I'd be concerned. All right, so you want to make sure that people have that, because if they're not collecting the money from you, they're skimping somewhere else in order to be able to make up for it. And you want to make sure that you're covered, because these QI, if these 1031s go wrong, you foot the bill. And the last thing you want to do is be cleaning up somebody else's mess because things didn't get done right. Well, that's all I got to say about this, folks. Again, my name is Kevin Matthews. I am the tax professor. Remember, class is still in session because the learning never stops. If you want to reach out to me, you can go leave a comment on the comment box below, or you can go to my website at www.betasolutioncpa.com. That's www.betasolutioncpa.com. And again, something else that we're starting to do now with some of these videos is if you really enjoyed this video, do me a favor, go ahead and hit like and then subscribe. We would actually really appreciate that, as we're trying to get greater traffic of these, because one thing I'm beginning to notice with a lot of the YouTube stuff is the more likes and the more subscribes that you have, the more they're going to spread your stuff out, and it actually really helps people out. There may be somebody that's far away from where I'm at, but because they got liked, the video got liked in some way, Yahoo's going to let it be shared over there. So please do that, and I'd appreciate it. Thank you.